Hi, Caleb from Brownells here, and today I'm joined by Dustin from Athlon Optics. Dustin, thanks for coming out.
Hey, thank you, Caleb.
And not only is he here to provide balance for like beard to hairdo ratio, but he's here to tell us about their sweet new chronograph. So let's just jump right into it.
Sure. So the Athlon Rangecraft Velocity Pro radar, we're pretty excited for this. With this guy, you can measure anything from archery, air rifles, shotgun, pistol, rifle, anywhere from 65 feet per second up to 5,000 feet per second. This has an internal lithium battery, so it's going to get you about 6 hours of charge at a time. It charges via USB-C, so pretty much any common USB-C comes with your phone nowadays.
Yeah.
You can plug in. It does come with a USB-C cable and an aluminum tripod.
Okay, nice.
We went with an aluminum tripod to give you a little more stability in heavy wind. It's just a very well-built, rugged tripod, and as you can tell, so is the unit. We've added some features in here to increase the durability. You can check out the corners, nice little 45s. This gives a lot of strength, so if you do accidentally drop it, you're not going to run into issues there.
Okay, awesome. And yeah, so the biggest thing that jumps out right now, oddly enough, is the USB-C. So I could just like plug this into my phone charger in my truck.
You can, and I have.
Okay, yeah, on the way to the
handy.
range, you know, you're loading up to go to the range. Your buddies are like, "Where are you at?" And you got to get there, and you realize I didn't charge.
Well, let's face it, you always forget something, right?
Plug that sucker
And
in,
charging
man.
is something you shouldn't have to worry about.
Yeah.
So if you needed, you could even use a battery power bank. Just, your little 10,000 milliamp hour battery
yeah,
power
perfect.
banks. Whatever you got laying around, plug it in with USB-C, charge it up. You're good to go.
Yeah, that's super convenient. And being reinforced on those 45 corners, it's only a matter of time until this gets knocked off a shooting bench or something.
It will happen. In fact, kind of during our development of this product, funny story, we might have launched one about 10 feet. We had it placed in the same position as every other rifle we'd been working and testing with, collecting data on, and this one happened to be a 50 BMG. Took a shot and sent our prototype unit about 10 feet behind us.
Okay, yeah, that'll do it. So yeah, and if the range, a lot of ranges are grass. Ours underneath the shooting benches for the most part is concrete. So yeah, I don't want to. That's something I don't want to have to worry about because I'm going to drop it. If anyone's watched this channel and seen me just working on firearms, the amount of things I drop on the floor and have to pick up just while holding them in my hands is ridiculous. So, yeah, that's great. So let's talk about some of the technology in it. Like what makes this thing tick?
Okay, so it's not the first Doppler-based radar system on the market.
Sure.
There's a few other competitors out there, but there's a lot that goes into developing something like this. We fired 30,000 rounds to take in account pretty much any variable we could imagine,
Right.
whether you're shooting suppressed, a bare barrel, a muzzle brake. All of them are going to create a signature in that radar, and you're trying to differentiate the amount of noise, whether that is adjacent shooters or maybe it's another unit. How do you eliminate all that noise and end up with the most precise measurement possible? You don't want to measure too far down range. You want to get this as close to the muzzle as possible. The radar signature, rather, right?
Right.
So when you place this near your gun, 4 to 10 inches beside the muzzle, above, below, or in front of, that's going to be your optimal placement. And then within this, you have several radar modules. The number can vary. On ours, I believe we use 16 modules, but that's going to give you a very accurate reading.
Okay, interesting. So with that placement, and I noticed because I just pushed the power button and turned it on, it gave me a nice little reminder of where exactly to place it, which is super convenient. So that's not something you have to memorize. You don't have to. I mean, I'm sure you can. Y'all would recommend like keeping the instructions with you, but
honestly, they're so easy to use. There's not a lot of instructions needed.
Yeah, that's the first thing I noticed, and that's a great explanation too. Because like, let's talk about why that optimal placement matters. Because the only thing I know about Doppler radar is from like Bill Paxton and Twister. So, whatever you can tell me about it would be great.
So, the radar coming out of this is going to come out in a 30-degree cone.
Okay.
So it's going to be very forgiving. When you go to set this down near your gun, if you're slightly off a few degrees, it's still going to detect, it's still going to pick up, it's still going to give you a very accurate reading. It's very forgiving. It's not like the old days where you had a light-based chronograph that you really had to get aligned perfectly and remember your scope over bore axis so you wouldn't shoot one right through your chronograph, right?
Yeah.
No, these are very easy to place. No alignment necessary, really. Just set it down, align it towards your target. Just visually, you don't need any alignment rods or anything. With that 30-degree cone, it's going to be able to detect in a very forgiving manner. If you're a pistol shooter, you've got this thing on a bench and you're standing above it. It is pretty forgiving. You're going to get several feet above this before you stop detecting. Same thing with archery. You know, we do recommend you always want to stay within 4 to 10 inches for the most accurate reading, but it's more forgiving than that.
Sure. Okay, that makes sense. And with that kind of all being said there, let's talk about, you know, the convenience of this unit itself, because I feel like I can remember especially when I first started gunsmithing, you know, back in the day, one of the gunsmiths I was apprenticing under was big on reloading, and he was doing a lot of load development for the custom rifles he was building, and he had this massive chronograph, and the lighting had to be just right.
Oh, yeah.
He was constantly... like setting this thing up was a chore, right? It wasn't something he could just go do. It was he had to take time,
shut down the range, go out in front of the muzzle.
Yeah, and that was this thing. If he I'm sure he's using this thing today. I mean, you just throw it out there, hit a couple of buttons, and you're ready to go.
Yeah, there's really no downtime. We wanted this to be a very intuitive, easy to use product. So you do have 2 buttons on the side, your up and down navigation. So pretty intuitive there. And then on top we have just our power button, which also operates as our return button as we go through the menu. The option button also functions as a delete button and OK. So when you go to the range, you don't need to go in front of the muzzle. You're going to place this down right next to the gun. You don't need to call a ceasefire or anything like that. You know, you can say a hotline. But when you go to start it, you have a few options. You have quick start and new session. When you go to quick start, it's not going to ask for your bullet weight. That's something that you can add later on if you want to know your kinetic energy, or if you're a USPSA pistol shooter and you need to know power factor, you can plug that data in later, right? Adjust your bullet weight at a later time. A new session will ask for it straight up as you go through that. Let's just do a quick start. We're at the range, we want to get going. We've been here long enough, so we're going to go ahead, go to quick start, hit OK, rifle. And we're going to choose kind of what our expected velocity range is. That lets the radar know what it should be looking for.
Gotcha.
So if we're shooting 223, we're going to be in that high velocity mode. And then we're going to place it next to our gun with the black side, the radome, facing your target. Now, as you're shooting, you might want to see some other options. On screen we have displayed our minimum and maximum and the number of shots fired. But if we want, we can cycle through on this top middle button, that's our option button, and we can see the other functions: deviation from average, kinetic energy, power factor, average velocity, standard deviation, extreme spread. Just a quick, easy way for you to analyze what you're doing without having to go through an app, which, conveniently enough, for long-term data management, there is an accompanying Athlon Ballistics app.
Oh, okay. Well, let's talk about the app, because I know a lot of reviewers out there that are, especially the ones that are doing load development for their reloading projects. That could be extremely handy for keeping all that stuff organized.
It can. You know, we looked at it from kind of a long-term data management side, right? So when we created the app, we did ask for a user login. We wanted to make sure that if you lose your phone or delete the app by accident, get a new phone, you don't lose anything. So you can log in with your email, with your Apple ID or Google. There's no personal information involved. All we're storing in the cloud for you guys is your rifle and bullet profiles and your session data from your chronograph. So you're always going to be able to recover it. Trying to foolproof technology for the next 10, 20, 30 years, however long that may be, right?
Yeah.
Definitely. So when you go into the app, you're going to create your rifle profile. You're going to say, hey, I'm shooting this scope. It's 2.5 inches above my barrel, the center to center. You'll create your bullet profile, what's your ballistic coefficient, what's your velocity, so on and so forth. And you can use that ballistics app to dial for those longer shots. Now, when it comes to importing the session data, you're going to pair your chronograph to the ballistics app, and you're going to see all of your sessions. And you're able to go in there and take those rifle and bullet profiles that you've created and associate them with each session. So now I'm not just looking through, okay, what did I do last October before hunting season?
Yeah.
No, I want to see exactly which gun, my Model 70, and I was shooting what bullet. It was a 154 grain Hammer Hunter or 110 grain Hornady CX. And I can sort and filter long term to see all of those sessions for that specific gun.
Okay.
So the long term data management in the app is very handy, whether you're reloading or shooting commercial factory ammo, and being able to go back and see as your temperature or your weather has changed, how did that affect your load?
Yeah, absolutely. And I could definitely see that being useful for me, especially this time of year. So what I would be using that for currently the most would probably be, like my AR-15 or my BRN-4, for example, 14.5-inch barrel, zeroed at 36 yards with Hornady 75 grain. Okay. But then I also shoot a lot of PMC, like 55 grain through it during some range sessions. So being able to have all of that data loaded in there with those velocities is extremely important, because our long bay at our range is 500 yards. And if I want to be able to get first shot hits on that with either one of those bullets, which for 55 grain is kind of a chore, but it's doable, that's extremely useful and convenient, I think, is the great word for it.
Yeah, and one thing you mentioned, you were shooting 75 or 77, right?
Yeah, 75s.
75s
Yeah.
and 55s.
Yes.
You may have two different zeros for those two different bullets.
I do.
So interestingly enough, in our ballistics app, the bullet profile is where you set your zero. So you can have one rifle with multiple zeros depending on your bullet.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, so that's even more convenient.
Yeah,
Okay.
perfect.
All right, so speaking of sessions, how many sessions can I put in this thing?
Yeah, so this is going to store 50 sessions and 100 shots per session.
Okay.
Now your app can hold an infinite amount. So when you sync and pair, it will continue to store it on here, but you can either delete one session at a time, you can delete all the sessions at once. If you don't want to take the time to sort and filter through, it'll prompt you if you want to just go ahead and delete one of the older sessions and move on to starting that. So
Easy enough.
no downtime really.
Yeah, that's super simple. So you mentioned the app. The app will hold, unlimited. With the app, what other things are there in? And actually, I'm looking at this right now. You can kind of customize the screen a little more too. So just the display color. Let me switch to dark mode real quick. Oh yeah.
Give you a comparison.
Yeah, I'm more of a dark mode guy. If you see my laptop or cell phone and stuff. Yeah, there you have it.
And if you go a little bit further down that screen and look at about, it's going to show you how many sessions you have remaining on this unit. So this one here, I have 40 sessions left.
Okay.
Yep, right there. And okay, confirm.
Oh, under about?
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
So you have 37 sessions remaining on that chronograph.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. So once you've paired the chronograph to your app, you can go in and see all of that session data. So right now, I've got a few different profiles in here. I've got some that are recorded as an air rifle, some that are as a rifle, and I believe, oops, go back in. I believe I have some pistol data in here as well. I do.
Okay.
Now, as I was saying, we can go through and kind of see some of the guns that I've created. I've got a Model 70, I've got my 6.5 Grendel, a BRK Ghost, and FX, but I want to look at maybe just this one air rifle. There's my last session that I recorded on that air rifle.
Okay.
Fired 77 shots, had a standard deviation of 7.2.
Okay.
Over 77 shots, so
Awesome.
a spread of 29.2. So I'd say I was shooting pretty decent that day.
Yeah, that's a lot of really, thinking about it, going back, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, the ease of getting all this information now is just absolutely wild.
It is.
And it's all right there in our little pocket computer.
Well, it's funny, 20 years ago, dope, if you wanted to shoot long range, data of previous engagement, you were going out and you were actually shooting and confirming. And
Right.
now with everyone having a computer in their pocket and a ballistics app that can really predict that bullet flight pretty well,
Yeah.
things have really expanded. So when Athlon came to market, we were really known for affordable long range. That was kind of our bread and butter. You could buy a sub $400 rifle scope, you could go buy a sub $400 rifle and accurately shoot 400 yards. 20 years ago, that wasn't really a thing.
Yeah.
Well, we want to go from shooting a 1,000-yard target to a 1,000-yard target.
Right.
And how do you do that? You start delving into the analytics of it, the data behind that shot.
Right.
And as the cost of ammunition or anything goes up, the more you can gather from each shot fired, not just how was my trigger pull, how was my cheek weld, but how was my gun performing, how was my ammunition doing, whether it was a reload or factory. All of that data is just making us shoot more accurately, further, and more fun.
Yeah, it 100% it is, and that's just the cool thing about the technology at this point. Now I know there are plenty of people out there who just reject technology in general, but a lot of those people are also like reloaders and stuff. You can't. This is one of those things where, like, the numbers don't lie. You put it to use, and then obviously it boosts your capacity to just perform better in all those aspects of shooting. So it's just absolutely phenomenal to have something this, not only this small, but compared to like some of the older chronographs, I've seen some that cost twice this much. Take way longer to set up. Like, the way the technology is just scaled down into this is absolutely blows my mind. I don't know. I'm still geeking out about it, even though we're towards the end of the video here, and I'm just like still amazed at this thing. But no, that's great. So being able to compare it with the ballistic app. Let's talk about the app a little bit more too.
Sure.
With that, can you load reticles and things into it?
So right now, since it is an Athlon Ballistics app, we've only set up to do the Athlon reticles.
Okay.
But so for my Mall 70, I was shooting a 110 grain bullet. This was my coyote load. I can, if I have enough cell phone reception. There we go. I can see, and this was not the reticle I was using, but this is a decent one to see on camera. So it's going to sight in at 50 yards. This is a second focal plane, and we can actually see on any magnification what those holds would be. Now, I can go back into my profile, and we'll just edit it real quick, and we'll select, I'm typically shooting mil, first focal, and let's see, I'm shooting the Cronus Gen 2, 4.5 to 29. We can go back and see that. Right here. We can zoom in and we can see those holdover functions.
Oh, awesome.
So instead of just 1 mil, 2 mil, 3 mil, maybe I want to know the distance.
Yeah.
So we're able to see that there as well. So 50 yard zero, this is a 100-yard shot. You can see my target is slightly above the bullseye because of that, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, it doesn't get any more, or any easier or more intuitive than that.
Yeah.
Since we have two here, that reminds me. Let's say me and you go to the range together, because we're best buds, and we're shooting two different firearms. How far do we need to be? Because obviously there's a chance of one picking up the other's gun, right?
Yeah, and that's a really good question, and it goes into something we spend a lot of time looking at as we're developing these chronographs: interference. And I respect you and I like you, but in this case, you're interference with me collecting data, right?
Yeah, that's almost makes me angry enough to come over there and shave your beard off. You know?
Man. So yeah, no, for an adjacent shooter, it's going to kind of fluctuate depending on the caliber, how big is that radar signature, right?
Sure.
But 3 to 5 feet is kind of that range that you're looking at.
That's plenty of room.
It is, and if you think about most public ranges, how far from center bench to center bench is it? It's at least 5 feet.
Yeah.
So 3 to 5 feet, and then we looked at indoor, outdoor ranges as well. There's a lot of reflectivity on indoor range. We've gotten this thing dialed in to where you're able to shoot this indoors, outdoors. there's really no issues.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, and if you're using one of these and you just need some extra space, just use a muzzle brake. That'll get people away from you very easily.
No doubt.
Yeah, I mean it's not the most polite thing to do, but you know. So yeah, no, that's good information. That's easy. That's very generous room, I think. So that's good. That's good to know. All right. So what if my chronograph does pick up one of your shots? Instead of getting mad at you, can I just delete it?
Yeah. So when you're in the session recording, if somebody were to shoot across you, or maybe you shoot the wrong bullet, or maybe it was just a really unexpected shot and you want to get rid of it, instead of going through a series of menus, if you hold down the top center button, it'll delete the last shot recorded.
Okay.
And you can do that indefinitely. So if you want to delete the last 5, you can hold down, delete, and just keep going through. Now, a couple other things that we could do. Let's go take a look at one of our previous sessions. So a quick little summary here. This is going to give you the date and time that you shot your rifle or pistol or bow or whatever it may be. In this case, it's our rifle. And we can go through and see our average, minimum, maximum velocity, standard deviations, extreme spreads. But on the screen, we can also update our projectile weight. That way we can get the appropriate, the actual kinetic energy or power factor for this projectile.
Okay.
If we want, we can go into our shot record. We can delete out a single shot. We can do it there as well. Or we were talking about the maximum number of shots that this will store.
Right.
Maybe I want to just delete this one session. You know, I got my average velocity. I don't care about retaining it long term. I can delete it from the screen pretty easy. Now there is a way to go into your settings and you can delete you can reformat the entire memory essentially, right? So if we go down to format memory, we can delete all of the sessions all at once.
Okay. And just to be clear, deleting it here doesn't mean it's deleted on the app.
Correct.
So all of that, you don't have to, if you accidentally deleted something here that you already synced to the app, you don't have to worry about losing that.
Yeah, no, the app is your long-term storage.
Yeah.
Everything's going to be backed up there and saved indefinitely.
Cool.
What you do on the unit after you've synced your data does not affect the app.
Perfect. Yep. Easy enough. And also, speaking of kind of get into velocity a little bit too. So 5,000's the maximum.
Okay, so 5,000
what's the
is
closest
the
you've
maximum.
came to that?
We loaded a 300 Win Mag with accelerator sabos shooting 55 grain solid copper and full metal jacket kind of style bullets.
Okay.
This is where it got interesting in testing, and we learned a lot. And it actually spilled over not only from that sabo testing, but it spilled over into shotgun and muzzleloader as well. So we were pushing 4,800 feet per second with a 300 Win Mag.
That's wild.
I know, right? It's mind-blowing. Another fast one, the 204 Ruger with a 24 grain NTX. I think it's 24 grain NTX.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so that's a lead-free bullet. It's, again, like a 4,600 foot per second cartridge. So what we were kind of learning from that is, as the bullet was going down range and the sabo is separating from the bullet, it's the same issue you run into with shotgun. You have a shot column, you have your shot, you have a wad, you might have some buffer material. It's a very long signature to read. So everything that we were discovering as we went through developing this kind of spilled over into the next segment. So in order for us to try to achieve that 5,000 feet per second, it actually helped us develop the shotgun side as well. So whether you're shooting buckshot, birdshot, or slugs, you're up against the same battle. So this is very, very reliable in shotgun capture as well.
Okay, yeah, interesting. So I wouldn't even think you could really use it for buckshot, but it works.
It does.
Okay,
It
yeah.
does.
That's pretty cool.
Not that
That's
shotguns
interesting.
are typically the most consistent on velocity,
Right,
but you
right.
can get a good idea of, if you're 1 ounce load versus your ounce and an eighth, are they where you expect them to be if you're a trap shooter or a hunter or anything like that? It works
Yeah.
out.
Well, I mean, why do you need this? Because the boxes are always 100% accurate for every velocity on every gun ever, right?
Yeah, sure, but they never tell you what barrel length they were using.
Right, yeah.
Or anything like that. So,
Yeah, so and that's
you're really getting the true data for your gun.
Right, that's the big thing. Because I remember, back in the day when ballistic apps were kind of first coming out, you would just pick up the box, look at it, and then plug that into your ballistic app. Who knows if that was anything close, right? Especially, what barrel were they using? They were using a 20-inch barrel. Well, I'm using a 14.5. That's
big velocity difference.
Big velocity difference, which at distance is a big point of impact difference as well. So
it is.
Yeah. So I mean, that's just the benefit of these things, especially with shotgun. Like I never really thought about using it for shotgun before, so I'm still trying to wrap my mind around that. But no, that's awesome.
Yeah. For me, as a long range shooter, it's very interesting. You know, if I take a shot and I hit below my target, I hit above my target, what happened? At those longer distances especially, it's really nice to verify, was it me? Did I pull the shot? Did I flinch? Was it a bad trigger pull? Oh, if I look down at my chronograph, I can see that one bullet might have been 30, 40, 50 feet per second faster or slower than I thought.
Yeah.
At 100 yards, at 50 yards, typically you're not going to see that difference. You may have a very accurate gun at 50 or 100, but if the velocities aren't consistent downrange, that's going to start opening up.
Yeah. Man, that makes, perfect sense. So let's talk about the one thing we probably didn't cover, and that is the case.
Yeah, it does come with a nice little preformed molded case.
Yeah.
That's going to be able to store your chronograph, your tripod, your accessory cables. And of course, you do have your warranty card and manual in there as well.
All right. Easy enough. And this is nice and solid and padded. So.
Offers a lot of protection. Still fairly small, convenient, but not so small you're going to lose it. So
yeah. So this will fit into a range bag, no problem. All right. Well, that is pretty much everything you need to know about the Athlon Rangecraft, this particular model of their chronograph. So if you have any questions, comments, any experience with this product, any concerns, of course, feel free to post them down below. And of course, you can also reach out to Athlon directly. They'll be happy to help you out. And as always, if you need help with anything for any reason ever, feel free to give us a call on the tech line. We'll be happy to help you out. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.